So what we have seen in the last class, we have in the last topic of the fourth unit, that is outlier mining. So what is an outlier? The outlier is the one which exhibits some different behavior with the remaining elements, remaining data points, whatever. So for so here outliers may be because of the execution errors or because of some measurement problem, or in sometimes they may be inherently present in the dataset. So sometimes these outliers may be helpful and like applications of the outlier analysis are fraud detection, customized marketing, medical analysis, etc. And in the last class, we have seen how outlier analysis can be helpful in fraud detection and medical analysis. And coming to the outlier mining, for if a given n data points are there, and the k is an expected number of the outliers, so we need to find out the top k dissimilarities. But to identify the dissimilarity, first we need to know what is the dissimilarity of a data. That means what is the consistent state of the data, and we need to know about the inconsistent data first. And for knowing that, we have faced some difficulties while dealing with the multidimensional data and non-numerical data also. And coming to the mining techniques, we have different approaches for mining the outliers. And before that, we have visualization techniques for mining the outliers. So we can project the data with the help of different graphs, and you can easily identify the outliers by using these graphs. But this is not easy in all the cases. So here also, it is not applicable to cyclic plots, high dimensional data, and for categorical data also, this kind of visualization methods cannot be able to identify the outliers effectively. So for to identify the outliers in any situation, we have four approaches for that. Statistical approach, distance-based, density-based, and deviation. And in the last class, we have discussed about the first two approaches, statistical approach and distance-based approach. We have already go through that. So where in statistical approach, there is a discordancy test is there, which examines actually two hypotheses. Working hypothesis is there and alternative hypothesis is there. Where in case of working hypothesis, it assumes that the initially all the data belonging to some probability distribution. So for going to this statistical distribution, we need to know about the distribution of the data set and also some parameters like mean, median, standard deviation, variance. All these parameters also we want actually. So whereas the alternative hypothesis says that the objects belonging to some other distribution, say example G, like that. So here this discordancy test verifies whether an object is significantly different from the given distribution or not. And here is a significant probability, and depends on the value we can able to identify whether the object is an outlier or not. And coming to the alternative distributions, we have three different alternative distributions. Where the inherent alternative distribution says that all the objects belongs to the other distribution G. Whereas the mixed alternative distribution says that some of the objects belongs to the, that means most of the objects belongs to the initial distribution F, whereas some of the objects belongs to the other distribution G. And the last one, slippage alternative distribution, and it says that mostly all objects belongs to the initial distribution F, and some objects belonging to the distribution which is a variant of the initial distribution F. Like this, we are having three distributions, and here we are having two procedures for detecting outliers. One is block procedure and another is consecutive procedure. Coming to the block procedure, here it assumes that all the suspected objects are outliers. Whereas coming to the consecutive procedure, it initially identifies the least suspected object and it go through the entire process and it finds whether it is really an outlier or not. If at all it is an outlier, then all the objects, all the suspected objects, all the most suspected objects are also concluded as an outlier. If at all that particular object is not an outlier, again the next most significant, the next one in the queue, the next most significant in the sense suspected object is considered, and again the process is repeated to know whether that is really an outlier or not. So like this, here in consecutive procedures, we can able to find the outliers. And what is the disadvantage of statistical approach? So here it only applicable for the one-dimensional data. That is a drawback. And also here to go with this statistical distribution, the data distribution must be known in advance. So which is not possible for any kind of data set. So that's why we are moving to the distance-based outlier detection. So here in the distance-based outlier detection, we are dealing with the two parameters. D for radius. Let's say this is also called d-min. Also called d-min. Let's say this is a radius, and P is the minimum number of points should lie within that neighborhood. So if at all there exists a point, and if you draw a neighborhood with the radius of d, this particular neighborhood should have the minimum of p fraction of the data set. If this is the data set, so out of all the points in the data set, at least p fraction of the total data, that number of elements should be present within the neighborhood of that object. So if it is not done, then O is that particular object is considered as outlier. Otherwise, it is not an outlier. So here for this we are having different algorithms under distance-based outlier detection, index-based algorithm. So here it uses some indexes like KD tree, R tree, like that to search for the neighbors. So actually what we are doing here, we are identifying that means we are identifying the object which do not have enough neighbors. Enough in the sense here, excuse me, enough in the sense what? That means suppose I can say that suppose here O is there and only one object is there near to it and all remaining objects are here. I can say that O is outlier. Why? Because it doesn't have enough neighbors. It only have one neighbor in the sense some nearest object. Neighbor in the sense nearest object. Since all the objects are very far to it, which means that is something different from all others. The characteristics of O is somewhat different from remaining objects, which means that particular O is an outlier. If suppose here I'm having another object is also there near to O. Still now maybe O is an outlier. Because according to my consideration, I want minimum of 3 neighbors for an object. Otherwise, it become an outlier. So in this case, O become an outlier. If suppose another object is there here O is not an outlier. Why? Because according to my constraint, O consisting of some minimum of 3 neighbors here, right? So it is not an outlier. Like this distance-based outlier detection constraints on impose the constraint on the number of neighbors for the object, for a particular object. So if at all the object do not have enough neighbors, so it assumes that if at all the object do not have enough neighbors, it assumes that that object is an outlier. So enough neighbors in the sense minimum number of neighbors. So how many? Minimum in the sense what? That means you want to, if you want to qualify your internal exam, you should get the minimum marks. That is the constraint. What is the minimum mark in your internal? 12 is the minimum mark. That means for getting that threshold we need to define. So here the threshold is defined with the fraction P. So here, coming to the first algorithm, index-based algorithm, here threshold is defined with m. So if you have a neighborhood of the object, so within the neighborhood of an object, it should consisting of minimum of m number of neighbors. That means if the number of neighbors is less than or equal to m, that object is an outlier. So if it is greater than m, that is not an outlier according to this index-based algorithm. Whereas coming to the nested loop algorithm, so here it especially it tries to minimize the input IO operations, IO cost it tries to minimize. So it divides as this is all covered in the last class itself. I'm just rewinding all those things. So it divides the data, divides the memory space into two parts, and it divides the data buffer into several logical blocks, and where IO efficiency achieved in the sense by choosing the order in which blocks are loaded into each half of the memory, there you can get the IO efficiency. So coming to the third algorithm, cell-based algorithm. So coming to the cell-based algorithm, here the total database, the data set is divided into different cells. Listen carefully. This is the topic till now we have covered in the last class. This is a new topic. Listen carefully. So here the total database is divided into different cells where each cell has two layers. Each cell has two layers. Okay. And outliers are detected by not going through the object wise. That means object by object detection is not carried out here. Here only cell wise detection is carried out. That means each cell is examined whether there is an outlier exists in that particular cell or not. Like that, cell by cell detection is carried out here. Okay, and here each cell is having the side length of this one, d min by root 2 root k. D min by 2 root k is the side length of the each cell. Side length of the each cell. Okay. And next here we need to have three counts. We need to have three counts to identify the outliers. Suppose here are the objects present in each cell. Now we need to know whether whether each cell consisting of objects which are, that means there are certain number of objects in each cell, right? Now we need to know, if you consider this first cell, now we need to know, is there any outlier present in this cell or not, like that. So to know that we need to have three counts. We need to have three counts. What is that count? The first count is cell count. Cell count in the sense number of objects present in the particular cell. So what is the cell count of cell? What is the cell count here? If you consider the first cell, what is the cell count? Anybody who are not sleeping in the class can respond. What is the cell count? Here cell count indicates number of objects in the cell. So what is the cell count here in case of first cell? Can I expect any answer, or blindly I can continue the class? What is the cell count? Chapali. Pavitra is there? అటెండెన్స్ తీసుకుంటాను ఒకసారి చెప్పండి. అటెండెన్స్ చెప్పండి, ఎవరు ప్రెజెంట్ అయ్యారో వాళ్ళే చెప్పండి.
5 మ్యామ్.
దీనికి మాత్రం రెస్పాండ్ అవుతారా? 5 క్లాస్ వింటున్నావా? నెంబర్ 5
మ్యామ్.
నేను అడిగిన క్వశ్చన్ అర్థమైందా?
అర్థమైంది మ్యామ్. సెల్ కౌంట్ అంటే ఏంటి అని అడిగారు మ్యామ్.
సెల్ కౌంట్ అంటే ఏంటి కాదు, ఈ సెల్ కి, ఈ పర్టికులర్ సెల్ కి కౌంట్ ఏంటి అని అడిగాను. సెల్ కౌంట్ అంటే నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఇన్ దట్ సెల్. సో ఆ సెల్ లో ఎన్ని ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయి? నెంబర్ 5, ఈ సెల్ లో ఎన్ని ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయి?
3 ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయి మ్యామ్.
మరి చెప్పడానికి ఏంటమ్మా ఆన్సర్? ఇదేమైనా కౌంట్ బరేగా కరోడ్ పతా, మీరు రాంగ్ చెప్తే మీకు 1 కోటి రూపాయలు తగ్గిపోవడానికి. అక్కడ కనిపిస్తున్న విజువలైజేషనే కదా, అక్కడ అంతా విజువల్ గా కనిపిస్తుంది. అది చెప్పడానికి ఏంటి ప్రాబ్లం మీకు? రెస్పాండ్ అవ్వండి నేను అడిగినప్పుడు. నేను 5 అటెండెన్స్ వేసుకోవచ్చు కదా చెప్పారు కాబట్టి. సో ఎవరెవరికి వేసుకోవచ్చు ఈ క్లాస్ లో నాకు అర్థమైంది. So here, so we have 3 counts here. 3 counts we need to consider. Excuse me. So first one is the cell count. As said by number 5, cell count is nothing but the number of elements in the cell. In this example, this is 3. Here is 3. And next, one layer count. One layer count is nothing but cell count plus, that means number of elements present within the cell plus number of elements present in the first layer. So let us say, for example, here two more elements are there in the first layer of the cell, and there are 3 elements in the cell. If you consider this, there are 3 elements in the cell and 2 more elements are there in the first layer of the cell. So this count is nothing but here, this cell plus 1 layer count is nothing but 5. And third count we are also having cell plus 2 layer count. Cell plus 2 layer count in the sense number of elements present in the cell plus number of elements present in the first layer of the cell and number of elements present in the second layer of the cell. So here, for example, here we have some elements. Similarly, here also we have some elements. So here totally there are some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements present in the cell here. If you consider this third cell, and only one element present in the first layer of the cell, and again one element present in the second layer of the cell. So here the cell plus 2 layer count is equal to 7. So like that, here we are having 3 types of counts we need to consider. So here, what is the condition for detecting the outlier? So if a cell plus 1 layer count is less than or equal to m, cell plus 1 layer count, if it is less than or equal to m, that means number of objects in the cell and number of objects in the first layer of the cell. If it is less than or equal to m, then that there exists some outlier in that cell. If not, no object in the cell are outliers. That means if the elements are greater than m, that means there is no outlier in that particular cell. And coming to the second condition, here if cell plus 2 layer count, again same condition. Here cell plus 2 layer count. This time previously we have considered cell plus 1 layer count. Here cell plus 2 layer count. So here cell plus 2 layer count, if it is less than or equal to m, then all objects in the cell are outliers. Otherwise, that means if it is greater than m, then some objects may be outliers. Then some objects may be outliers. So to identify that few outliers, we need to go for object by object processing. We already know that object by object processing by using the previous methods. So this is all about the distance based outlier detection. And coming to the density based outlier detection. So here, instead of distance, instead of statistical measures, we are purely considering the density of the data. So why we are not going for the previous methods? What is the problem with the previous methods? So in order to go with the previous methods, the data should be uniformly distributed. The data should be uniformly distributed, but which is not true in all the cases. So here is an example why we need to go for the density based approach. What is the problem with the previous methods. So here, if you observe that we are having two clusters and two objects looks to be outliers, O1 and O2. Here we are having two clusters, C1 and C2, and two objects are there, O1 and O2, and these two objects are not mingled with the clusters. They seems to be outliers. So if you directly go with the density-based approach, you can both O1 and O2 are detected as outliers. Why? Because by observing itself, it can be clearly observed that here this is a cluster C1, here this particular area is a high dense area, and this particular area is a high dense area. This is not a dense area, which means that O1 and O2 are outliers. Suppose if you are not go through that way, that means you are not suppose you are not considering distance based density based outlier, you are considering the distance based approach. So by using the distance based approach, clearly O1 is an outlier. There is no problem with O1, but O2 is an outlier or not, that is purely based on the d minimum distance constraint. If suppose the minimum distance constraint, that means d min, if this is less than minimum distance between C2 and O2. ఇక్కడ మీకు here you have C2, and this is your, for example, this is your O2. If suppose d min, that means d min decides the neighborhood of that object to identify whether that is an outlier or not. D min decides the neighborhood. If suppose the d min is up to this distance only, this is the d min. So I need to draw the neighborhood first. Here, is there any object within the neighborhood of O2? Is there any object within the neighborhood of O2? There is no object, right? O2 is alone. Oka neighbor kuda ledhu akkada. Since O2 is alone, there is no object within the neighborhood of O2. So here in this case, O2 is declared as an outlier. So in this case, there is no problem. This is declared as an outlier. But if you consider the d min as the greater than the distance between the cluster C2 and O2, what happened? Let us see. Here is C2 and here is O2, and my d min is up this point. This is my d min consider. So I can draw the neighborhood like this. So what happened here? Some part of the cluster C2 is present in the neighborhood of O2. That means some part of cluster C2 in the sense. So you can imagine like this. So what happened here? Some part of cluster C2 in the sense. So all these elements belongs to all these elements are become neighbors of O2. Why? Because we have chosen this d min greater than the minimum distance between the C2 and O2. సో ఇప్పుడు కేస్ 1 లో ఏమవుతుంది, మనం d min ని నైబర్హుడ్ ని రెడ్యూస్ చేసుకున్నాం కాబట్టి O2 seems to be alone. There are no neighbors for O2 and it is declared as an outlier. But whereas in the second case, we are extending the d min. So we are extending the neighborhood of the O2. So what happened there? అక్కడ ఏమవుతుంది అంటే some part of C2 cluster లో ఉన్న కొన్ని ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ బికమ్ నైబర్స్ ఆఫ్ O2. సో దానికి నైబర్స్ ఉన్నప్పుడు అది అవుట్లేయర్ అవ్వదు కదా. సో ఇన్ దట్ కేస్ O2 is not an outlier. సో ఇక్కడ ఏమవుతుంది, ఇన్ రియాలిటీ O2 is clearly an outlier. But what happened with the existing methods, with distance based outlier detection తీసుకున్నప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, ఒక కేసులో అది అవుట్లయర్ గా అవుట్పుట్ ఇస్తుంది, ఇంకొక కేసులో అది అవుట్లయర్ గా డిక్లేర్ చేయట్లేదు. ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ అన్ అవుట్లయర్ అని చెప్తుంది. దట్ ఈస్ బేస్డ్ ఆన్ ద డిస్టెన్స్ కన్స్ట్రెంట్. సో అక్కడ రాంగ్ రిజల్ట్స్ కి వెళ్ళిపోతున్నాం మనం. సో దట్ ఈస్ వై వీ నీడ్ టు గో ఫర్ ద డెన్సిటీ బేస్డ్ అవుట్లయర్ డిటెక్షన్ ఇన్ కేస్ ఆఫ్ data if it is not distributed uniformly, if it doesn't have uniform distribution. So data's uniform distribution లేనప్పుడు we need to go for the density based outlier detection. And here you can have one more new concept, that is local outlier. So there are two kinds of outliers are there, local outlier and global outlier. So if you consider the global outlier, this is purely global outlier. O1 is purely global outlier, whereas O2, that is a local outlier, that is nearer to C2, right? That is local outlier. So if it's outlying relative to its local neighborhood, particularly with respect to the density of the neighborhood, then it is a local outlier. So O2 is a local outlier with respect to C2. O1 is also an outlier. So none of the objects in C1 are treated as outliers. So here, in density-based outlier detection, it not only finds that whether a object is an outlier or not, yes or no. It not only finds like that. It also finds that how much degree, that means the degree depends on, it considers the degree to which an object is an outlier. ఎంత పర్సెంటేజ్ అది అవుట్లయర్ అవుతుంది, ఎంత పర్సెంటేజ్ అది అవుట్లయర్ అవ్వకపోవచ్చు. సో హియర్ if an object is a local outlier, with what degree it is a local outlier. Suppose you qualified the exam with what rank? Based on the rank, I can able to assess you. All are qualifying the MCET exam. With what rank? If you get a good rank, I can able to judge you based on the rank only. So similarly here also many local outliers are there, but what is a pure local outlier? That is based on the local outlier factor. Here is a local outlier factor, and to identify that, to find out the local outlier factor, we need to know about, go through all the different terminologies. Let us first, the first one is the K distance. So to find out the local outlier factor, first we need to know about the K distance. So what is the K distance? K distance of an object P is the maximal distance that P gets from its K nearest neighborhoods. Suppose if P is there here, if suppose this is P. So here K distance is of an object P is the maximal distance that P gets from its K nearest neighbors. So we need to consider the K nearest neighbors of the P. Suppose K is equal to 4, for example. K nearest neighbors of P we need to consider. So here is one nearest neighbor, first nearest neighbor. This is first nearest neighbor, and this is the second nearest neighbor, and this is the third nearest neighbor, and this is the fourth nearest neighbor. Then 1, 2, 3, 4 and ఎందుకు మెన్షన్ చేశాను? Obviously first nearest neighbor is nothing but the object which is very nearer to the object P. The second nearest neighbor is nothing but which is next nearer to the object P. This is next nearer. This is next nearer. And here is another object. Is this is the nearest neighbor or not? Even though it is a nearest neighbor, we no need to, because here we decide the K value as 4. And to consider only K nearest neighbor. So here K distance is nothing but the distance of object with the kth nearest neighbor. That means maximum distance of the object we need to consider. Distance of P with the first nearest neighbor, second nearest neighbor, third nearest neighbor is very little compared to the fourth nearest neighbor distance. So that thing we need to consider. This is called as K distance. This is called as K distance. So the K distance of an object P is the maximal distance that P gets from its K nearest neighbor. So K nearest, out of K nearest neighbors, maximum distance ఎక్కడి నుంచి వస్తుంది, దేని దగ్గర నుంచి వస్తుంది P కి అంటే kth nearest neighbor నుంచి వస్తుంది. That is what here. So this can also be elaborated as there are at least K objects in D that are as close as or closer to P than O. And similarly, there are at most k minus 1 objects that are closer to P than O. Both are same expressions. So coming to the k nearest neighborhood, this is also called as this, represented with this k nearest neighborhood. It contains every object whose distance is not greater than the min points, whose distance is not greater than the min points of k distance of P. So suppose if you're having the object P here, and this is the k distance, and this is the k distance, and here it considers every object whose distance is not greater than the min points of k. So all these objects which are fall under this neighborhood. So the neighborhood formed with this k distance is referred as k distance neighborhood. And coming to the reachability distance. What is the reachability distance? Reachability distance of an object P with respect to the object O, suppose this is object O, is defined as the reachability distance is equal to maximum of min point distance and distance between P and O. What is this min point distance and what is this distance between P and O? So let us say an example. So we need to consider the reachability distance of, that is indicated with so we need to identify the reachability distance of A with respect to O, suppose A with respect to C I want actually. Reachability distance of A, and here is C and here is A. I want now the reachability distance of A with the C. So what is the formula? We need to consider the maximum of min point distance of O and D of P comma O. So here if you consider the min point distance of C, we need to consider here. So min point distance of C is obviously larger than the reachable distance between, this is the distance between A and C. Whereas the min point distance, so this is the distance between A and C. Whereas the min point distance between A and C is this one. So which one is larger? Min point distance is larger. So we can consider this distance here. So if you consider this case here, the distance between A and B is this one. Whereas reachability distance is also same. So illustration of the reachability distance. Object B and C have the same reachability distance, k is equal to 3, where D is not a k nearest. So we no need to consider this D. So if you consider the reachability distance between A and C, reachability distance between A and C is equal to the reachability distance between A and B. Even though the original distance between AB and AC are different. Are you getting my point or not? ఇక్కడ యాక్చువల్ డిస్టెన్స్ చూస్తే ఏబి యాక్చువల్ డిస్టెన్స్ ఏసీ యాక్చువల్ డిస్టెన్స్ డిఫరెంట్ గానే ఉంది, బట్ రీచబిలిటీ డిస్టెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఏసీ అండ్ ఏబి ఈజ్ సేమ్. వై? బికాస్ రీచబిలిటీ డిస్టెన్స్ లో ఏం చూస్తాం మనం, విచ్ ఎవర్ ఈస్ ద మాక్సిమం దట్ కెన్ బి కన్సిడర్డ్. సో హియర్ we can directly consider the, in case of A and B, you can directly consider the distance between A and B. Whereas in case of A and C, we are not considering the distance between A and C. We are considering the min point distance of C. We need to consider the min point distance of C. So that is the case. And by using the reachability distance, now we are going to find the local reachability density of the point P. So this is the inverse of the average reachability density based on the min point nearest neighbors of P. So what we need to find here, suppose here is an object P and this is the neighborhood, and here we have different objects. Now we need to find out the reachability distance between P and each and every object. Reachability distance between P and in every object we need to find out, and we need to take the average of that. We need to take the average of that, and reciprocal of that result become the local reachability density. So this is the reachability distance of A in the sense P, and B is nothing but O here. So reachability distance of so let us say this is A. Reachability distance of A with every B. B is nothing but some other point in the neighborhood. So we need to take the average of that, and we need to take the reciprocal of total average. So that will give the local reachability density. So from this local reachability density, which is represented with IRD, we can get the local outlier factor. What is the local outlier factor in the sense? That is the local outlier factor is nothing but the degree to which the particular object is an outlier. So that is an average of the ratio of the local reachability density of P and those of P's min point nearest neighbor. Here P is nothing but A and O is nothing but B. Just these two terms are simultaneously here. So here, so it is the average of the ratio of what is the ratio here? Ratio of the local reachability density P with the local reachability density of every object. So that will give the local outlier factor. So local outlier factor is higher for the outlier. If at all it is greater than 1, the particular object is an outlier. Otherwise, that is not an outlier. So if you want to know whether the object is a local outlier or not, with which degree it is a local outlier, you need to go through all these things to find the local outlier factor. And coming to the deviation based outlier, this is the last method in the outlier detection. Deviation based outlier. So it identifies the outliers by examining the main characteristics of objects in a group. So objects that deviate from this description are considered outliers. So here we are having two methods and the deviation based outliers. One is sequential exception technique and another one is OLAP technique. Coming to this first one, sequential exception technique, it will simulate the way in which the human can distinguish usual objects from among a series of supposedly liked objects. So in which way it can be it can be performed, let us see. So here consider a data set D, and we need to divide the data set into a sequence of subsets. That means we are not dividing the data set, we are deriving the subsets from it. What is the difference between dividing and deriving? Dividing in the sense, here if you divide the D, this is the entire data set D, and if you divide this into different subsets, that means all are unique. But here we are not dividing the data set, we are deriving the subset in the sense, we are having some subsets D1, D2, D3 like this, such that D1 is a subset of D2, D2 is a subset of D3, and so on. That means D2 consisting of all elements in D1 and some extra elements. Similarly, D3 consisting of all elements in D3 along with some extra elements in D2. Like this. So here, the dissimilarities are assessed between the subsets in the sequence. So this is a sequence, and here the dissimilarities can be assessed between the subsets. So this technique introduces the key terms like exception set. So what is the exception set here? So the smallest subset of objects whose removal results in greatest reduction of dissimilarity, that is the exception set. So you need to identify all the subsets, and you need to identify the smallest subset. Among all the subsets, you need to identify the smallest subset whose removal results in the greatest reduction of dissimilarity. So coming to the dissimilarity function. So it is a function that for a given set of objects returns a low value if the objects are similar to one another. The greater the dissimilarity among the objects, the higher the value returned by the function. So the dissimilarity of a subset is incrementally computed here. Here it is. That is incrementally computed based on the subset prior to it in the sequence. And another thing you need to know is cardinality. So this is it. This is typically the count of the number of objects in the given set. So we have different subsets, right? For a given set, what is the cardinality in the sense? That is nothing but the count of the number of objects in the given set. And the next one is smoothing factor. So this function is computed for each subset in the sequence. Smoothing factor is nothing but this function is computed for each subset in the sequence. So for every subset, we have different subsets, right? D1, D2, D3. So for every subset, we need to compute the smoothing factor. So it assesses how much the dissimilarity can be reduced by removing the subset from the original set of objects. So if you consider this subset, so if you remove this from the original set, if you remove this from the original set, how much dissimilarity can be reduced? That will give the smoothing factor of the particular subset. Similarly, we need to remove the second subset from the entire set. So if you do this, how much dissimilarity is there can be reduced by doing this? That we need to identify. So the subset whose smoothing factor value is the largest one is the exception set. Exception set is nothing but the outlier set. So in this way, we can able to find the outliers. So a sequential approach is computationally feasible and can be implemented using a linear algorithm. Then how does this technique work? So the algorithm selects a sequence of subsets from the set of analysis. For every subset, it determines the dissimilarity of a subset with respect to the preceding subset in the sequence. And coming to the second technique, OLAP technique. So OLAP, we already know that, right? OLAP technique is a software technology that allows users to analyze information from multiple database systems at the same time. So it is based on multidimensional data model and allows the user to query on multidimensional data. An OLAP approach to deviation detection uses data cubes to identify regions of anomalies in large multidimensional data. So if you consider a particular cell, is there any anomaly exist in that cell or not? How to identify in the sense? A cell value in the cube is considered an exception if it is significantly different from the expected value. If at all it is significantly different from the expected value, then that is an anomaly. Anomaly is the outlier. In that way, we can able to identify the outlier. So here, what is the advantage with OLAP system in the sense? The user can choose to drill down on the cells that are flagged as exception. Suppose here is an exception, for example. In quarter one, you have an exception. You can drill down to months like that. So for example, in quarter one, suppose you have January, February, March. So if at all you find exception in quarter one, you can drill down so that you can identify the data month wise. If at all here also you're not getting clear, you can further drill down for week wise. Like this, you can able to identify the exact error. So the measured value of a cell may reflect exceptions occurring at more detailed or lower levels of the cube where these exceptions are not visible from the current level. So because of these advantages, you can go with the OLAP technique. So with this, your fourth unit is over with this. This is little lengthy unit. So in the next class, I'm going to start the sixth unit directly. I'm just leaving the fifth unit for now, and I just want to finish the sixth unit so that with that we can able to have 5 units in our hands. And I will in the next week or this week I will try to go with the sixth unit, and from the next week onwards I will I can take the revision classes. సో మీకు ఆల్రెడీ షెడ్యూల్ వచ్చేసింది కదా, మీకు ఆల్రెడీ ఎగ్జామ్ షెడ్యూల్